pleasant good Wednesday evening and a happy new year for the final edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show here in 2025. As always, brought to you in part by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. This week on the program, we'll talk all things North Dakota high school activities and sports with the executive director of the NDHSAA, that is Matt Fetsch, coming up around the corner to lead off the program. We'll hear from the Barnes County Boys Basketball Tournament Commissioner and Kelvin Kraft as he gives us a preview of the BCT as that opens up next week, already coming up on Tuesday from Valley City State University right here on your live event. Chris Heise will be joining the conversation talking about his career as an official, going from the high school ranks to the collegiate ranks. We'll have a couple of senior spotlights this week with Hudson Dinger of West Fargo, Sheyenne, and also a couple of Pine River girls basketball players coming up with Sawyer and Mimian as well around the program. And we'll get to our crowning moments. But first, let's get to our conversation with Matt Fetsch here as part of the Your Live Event.com Coaches Show, our New Year's Eve edition. As we continue on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show this week, not as many coaches with some referees that we're going to talk about and just their journey to high school and Division II, Division I, maybe basketball, but also I always like to get kind of an annual year in review here with the executive director with the North Dakota High School Activities Association. That is Matt Fetsch. And Matt, the biggest thing coming into the 2025-26 school year from the outsider looking in probably was volleyball after having three divisions coming up for the first time this year, 24 teams being housed in one facility for a couple of days as well. So let's just start there before we talk about the winter and kind of put a bow on the fall coverage. Just how did everything go from your perspective, from the regionals into a qualifier into an actual state tournament this year, housing it at the Bismarck Event Center?
Yeah, I would say logistically, it probably went about as well as it can. Like you said, a lot of, especially when you get to that state level, a lot of volleyball in a short amount of time. And leading up to that, I don't have data in front of me, but competitively, I can safely say we've never had a year like this where, you know, you in your world probably never seen as many five-set matches as what we saw this year. And I think it just shows how competitive it was across all three levels. And yeah, you combine that with once you get to the postseason, we were pretty fortunate with weather where that held off till we were through the state tournament. And once we got to that final weekend, it was yeah, we had real good crowds and something that just seemed to create some buzz this year. That combined with the media coverage throughout the year and leading up to it made for a kind of a historic year, in all honesty, with our volleyball season.
As you look at it, Matt, I mean, games that are at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning to, 7, 8 o'clock at night because you're playing on two courts, you're getting six matches in. As you know, volleyball can go 60 minutes or it can go 2 hours and change depending on how competitive it is. So anything that you heard from the coaches or feedback from any fans, just having it new the first time, there's always going to be some tweaks that you're going to have to figure out. But overall, three divisions, did you feel like it was too much or was it, just about right in terms of the first year having it at just one facility?
Yeah, I think did get some feedback, and again, yeah, mainly teams that played right away in the morning, and I think as you talk to them, it will rotate. So this year it was for the most part the B teams that had the early matches. That'll rotate, so it'll be a couple more years before they run into that type thing. So I think when people hear that, they say, oh, okay, it's all right. And kind of like anything, if you're up and playing at 9 a.m., which they are used to because they do it throughout the season, a lot of Saturdays with their invitational tournaments, unlike you have a nine-man football championship this year at 9 a.m. and they, outside of a few afternoon playoff games, they're never playing before 7 p.m. So it is a little bit different where maybe a little easier to adapt to for a typical volleyball player and or fan. But again, like anything, if you win in the morning, it's not so bad. Rest of your day is pretty enjoyable. And if not, you're maybe a little more disgruntled. But no, overall, the feedback was actually overwhelmingly positive. And like I said, with coaches, we went through something similar. We're having our B basketball semifinals in the afternoon the last couple of years for the first time ever. Year one, a lot of I'll say grumbling, probably more so from fans and traditionalists. But when you actually get to talk to the coaches and those involved, they love playing in the afternoon versus waiting around all day and playing at night. So, like I said, overall, the schedule setup was kind of set up in mind, especially Saturday, where if we have all five setters, how do we avoid that midnight starting time? And we pretty much ran into it, and it went off pretty well. So I think, like I said, outside of division switching around, it'll be, in my anticipation, a pretty similar setup next year.
As we go from there, Matt, to kind of the winter sports season, because that was the biggest thing in terms of the fall, just in terms of some new stuff outside of maybe a co-op forming or a co-op split and someone getting their brand of uniform, so to speak, back in their local town. But as you go through the winter here, the wrestling obviously has been a sport, particularly on the girls' side, that has continued to grow and grow and grow. And I've even talked with some fellow broadcasters that sooner or later there's probably going to be two classes in girls wrestling, just how much the growth of that sport is. So something new this year, though, for the fans will be at state will be 9 mats. You'll have three for the A boys, three for the B boys, and three that are just dedicated towards the girls on that particular Thursday and Friday with the individuals, Matt. So just take us through how did that come together and why this year are you going to go from 8 to 9 mats, when it comes to state wrestling at the Fargo Dome?
Yeah, and for those not familiar with wrestling, it's the 8 mat setup is the traditional setup. We've had to pivot from that during COVID, especially. We had a 12 mat setup for 1 year, and which was done out of necessity. But really, the I think going from 8 to 9 is just you know kind of a feather in the hat of the girls wrestling in our state and how much it's exploded. We had 3 mats for each of the boys classifications and two for the girls, just due to numbers. And as the girls' numbers have continued to grow, and I think coupled with that, just more competitive as girls get more experience here. The first couple of years, there were a lot of girls' matches that didn't last very long. You'd have an experienced wrestler and one less experienced, and now it's much more competitive. So we just found particularly last year, boys' mats were done and the girls were moving over to the other mats to finish up their session. And now, theoretically, they'll all finish around the same time. And really, for the fan, it won't change a whole lot other than the little breaks that are built in. There might actually be a break now versus rolling right into the next session. And you mentioned two divisions, girls wrestling. I think it's inevitable. I know as far as the dual side, once there's 12 full dual teams, that would trigger a dual tournament. But as far as an A and B individual tournament, I'd say we're getting pretty close to that. And in all reality, a 12 mat format is probably inevitable when it comes to state wrestling. And again, just shows the explosion of that sport across the state.
When you look at it, Matt, is girls wrestling the one sport that is getting the most participants in on an annual basis? Where you go, did you gain 5%, lose 5%? In terms of student athletes, is that the sport? Softball has kind of also been one of those that continues to grow. So, what is maybe the biggest growing sport in North Dakota, or is it just a slam dunk that it is wrestling, just because it's new and girls are getting that opportunity to come out a little bit more and more with their respective programs, Matt?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with those two sports you mentioned. The girls wrestling exploded in the first few years. We anticipate if other states are any indication that'll start to plateau a little bit here, probably starting this year, give or take a year. But no, it's been huge. And then softball's the other one. The growth there has been for over a decade now. That number just continues to grow, and more so due to just new programs. We have a few more this year that'll be starting fast pitch for the first time, and because of it, it naturally bumps those numbers. But we again have no reason to believe that's going to slow down anytime soon as softball continues to grow. And in my guess, at some point, the number of softball teams in the state will mirror the number of baseball teams, and that gets closer every year.
As we go from there, something also that's a little bit different when it comes to the prep sports in the winter will be maybe where some of the postseason tournaments will be at, particularly in basketball. As an example, State A girls get the first time to play at the Civic in Jamestown. Also, you get Valley City State University to host a couple of regionals when it comes to boys and girls as well. Larimore hosting Region 2 here, Matt. So just kind of take us through on some of the new venues that maybe have hosted other tournaments before, but getting the first time, maybe getting their feet wet in a new tournament coming up here this winter.
Yeah, you mentioned the A girls in Jamestown be the first time, and when our combined tournament talked about placing tournaments with the start of the three divisions, the thought process was go 2 years in a row. So whatever kinks needed to be worked out after year one, be a lot easier at that same site, and then rotate them. And again, that girls' weekend, the first weekend of March, we just got to keep in mind there's so much going on then that we have East and West region basketball going on that weekend. Uh, state swim, which doesn't affect basketball necessarily, but there's just so much going on. It really limits the number of venues available. And we've kind of zeroed in on that Jamestown and Minot right now for that weekend. And just so many things out of our control that the average viewer may not realize. Something that it sounds as foreign as the NCHC, which is the conference UND plays hockey, and them changing their postseason format where they now play 3 weekends instead of two. They play it all at the higher seed. Unfortunately for us, it really takes the Betty out of that rotation as a possible girls' state tournament host. And that was, for those that have been there, one of the best atmospheres you'll ever be in. But again, I just had a meeting with colleagues around the country, and that's a theme nationwide. Not only the college hockey conferences changing their formats, but all the way to the expanded college football playoff, where a lot of states play their state finals in December, and they get into situations where they can't lock in the college facilities they were used to because they have to block them off just in case they're hosting a college football playoff. And it's just, it's a good problem to have in some ways because it means you're a very venue rich state, which I think we are. But again, it does present some challenges, but that'll be the biggest change state tournament wise this year. And you mentioned Valley City State University and Larimore hosting. I think you look up at that 2B area, they're looking at, again, running into some of that with the Betty and availability during the region tournament. And with the three divisions, the reality is each region geographically doubled in size. So you're talking St. John all the way down to, I don't even know who'd be the southernmost, Hatton, Northwood. I mean, it gets to all the way over to Benson County up to North Border. It's a really big region. So they're looking at um, maybe experimenting with some of the larger high schools that are somewhat centrally located, along with Devils Lake there, who plays in the A division. And then same with Valley City State University. I think it's fair to say it's an experiment this year, put in a region tournament there. But if it shows that the size can handle it, and it's an option down the road that creates some opportunity there that gives everyone involved a little more flexibility versus being dependent on university schedules, which are even out of their control sometimes. I know last year we had a NDSU, I think it was the Thursday of one of the region tournaments where CBS Sports declared that game and they wanted to move it to Thursday from a Wednesday. And because of that, we have to pivot and move our tournament. So this again, just some experiments to see if it's an option down the road to have more options.
As we go from there, Matt, last thing that I'll ask for you is the NIL deal, just the world that we live in. That's almost day-to-day coverage in some capacity, particularly at the college side. But for some fans that might not know, a lot of states have their own NIL with their respective high school activities association, high school league, moving through with their respective rules and regulations that come through. And I think in 2022, Matt, is when the NDHSAA kind of adopted yours respectively here. So if someone's not used to the high school version compared to a college version here, Matt, what is similar? What is different? How can a student athlete maybe benefit from their name, image, and likeness within the state of North Dakota here?
Yeah, and with NIL, I think it gets a negative connotation just with everything you hear at the national level, particularly in football at the collegiate FBS level. But yeah, I believe North Dakota was the third state association that had an NIL policy that allowed students to profit off name, image, and likeness. And basically, it's as simple as if a student's asked to appear in a commercial or to endorse a product or even to put on a basketball camp and have their name on it. Our rule for the most part is as simple as, you can do what you want using your name. Just don't wear your school uniform when you're doing it or be tied to the school. And even nationally, the states that do have it, I think 46 of the 50 states have some rule. I would venture to guess by June, all 50 will, because the courts have been pretty clear on how they're going to rule on any of those. But I'll honestly say it's been very much a non-issue. I think where you're seeing the issue is again those elite five-star athletes who sign with Ohio State or wherever it is, and Ohio State wants to immediately put $200,000 in their bank account while they're still in high school. Without that rule, it wouldn't allow the student to accept that. Where with the rule, it would, but it, in our opinion, isn't affecting where kids go to high school or anything like that. So I think in hindsight, just the state association and my board of directors pretty forward thinking with it. But again, it's fortunately been pretty much a non-issue. But again, in other states, it's become a big issue because they don't have a policy. And again, it all goes back to FBS football for the most part.
The one thing I'll ask you, Matt, if someone does, let's say, a local bank, car dealership, a restaurant, however, in their respective town says, "Hey, Matt, we really want to, you're kind of a good face. We like how you represent your school, the community, stuff of that nature. Can you do this?" How does a student athlete go about if they do get contacted to have a chance then on their NIL when if they are a prep sport or a high school athlete here in the state, Matt? How do they go through that process?
Yeah, and we do have some small deals I think going on in our state. I don't, in my opinion, no one's getting rich off it by any means, but something like that. My recommendation, if a student is approached, contact your local athletic director, and we have a policy in place that's pretty clear on you can do this, can't do this, and most likely they reach out to me and we talk through it, and it's a pretty simple process. But like I said, it's just something that this is my 12th year in this position, and if you'd have told me that 12 years ago, that's something we'd be talking about, I'd have told you no way. And it's just a sign of the times. But again, it's something that's always evolving, and like many things that we deal with and my board of directors deals with, if it needs adjusted down the road, it's something they have the ability to do. So it's something we'll continue to monitor.
Hey, last thing that I'll ask you here, Matt, just with 2026 coming up here, just a day away, so to speak, from when this interview's airing. Anything that fans should know coming up through the rest of the winter or the spring that maybe we haven't talked about that might be something new, or just something on the horizon that maybe your board or just anything that folks are working on there with this High School Activities Association?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing my boards, I mean, they bit off a lot this year as far as things they're really vetting and reviewing and maybe amending, but most of it probably doesn't apply to the average fan. We're talking like out of season coaching regulations, some potential modifications with transfer rules, some things like that they're having the conversation, and we'll continue to work toward that. But for the most part, like so many things we deal with, especially when we're talking about winter and spring, we're so dependent on the weather that if anything, if everyone just prays for good weather throughout the year, that's what we're looking for and hoping for. But it's been, knock on wood, the fall was nice, the fall as we've ever had. December is more like our traditional winter, and hopefully we can turn that around now with the new year.
Hey, Matt, thanks so much for your time. Happy New Year, and thanks again for everything here that you do with the state of North Dakota.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity, Chase, and Happy New Year.
And again, Matt Fetsch, Executive Director with the North Dakota High School Activities Association, with us here on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show.
Hillsborough Economic Development Committee supports businesses in the Hillsborough community in the form of loans and grants. Experience Hillsborough. There's more at 104.
Join us here, part of the Barnes County Boys Basketball Tournament, as we preview the girls tournament. Now it's time to preview the boys tournament that comes up here in January on YourLiveEvent.com right after the new year. Join us. Here's the commissioner from the Barnes County Boys Basketball and Girls Basketball Tournaments. That is Calvin Kraft. Join us. And Calvin, let's recap the girls before we talk about the boys. The boys gets underway on Tuesday, the 6th of January, the 8th and the 9th as well, albeit pending what Mother Nature has in store for us as well. But what did you see from the girls tournament? Able to see 2 Division A opponents, 6 Division B opponents, a couple of teams that were ranked in both respectively. Just kind of what did you see and hear from your perspective there, Calvin, with some good basketball in Valley City on the girls' side?
Yeah, obviously after that hiccup when the first round didn't happen, we talked about what do we do? Do we want to try go Thursday, Friday, Saturday? It's tough to find workers and refs for that last day. Do we want to just go high seed wins? And I think with the makeup of the tournament this year, the high seed winning was fairly easy. No one really had a big gripe about it, and they thought good games would happen on Thursday, Friday with the situation that it was. So that was awesome. And obviously great semifinal, great both semifinals. Pretty good, solid consolation semifinals matching up and making it work. And then the last day, a heck of a championship game. I think the atmosphere was great. Quite a few people. Obviously the 3rd and 4th place game, fairly competitive. 5th and 6th place game, competitive. So, I mean, it was what you want in a tournament like this is to come, get a feel for a 94-foot court, get to feel a college environment, and then obviously play some games that are competitive. And so I think after the non-first round per se, the second 2 rounds went smooth. Having ranked teams and a number 1 versus a number 3 and B versus A, people like that, and obviously you might get a little more views and people there because of, well, how does A stack up versus B? And right now B is doing pretty well this year. And it was cool to see that them compete. And, I'm sure if they played 10 times, it might go differently every time, but it was fun. Things went smooth. And thanks for doing it. And it was a success.
As we go from there on the boys side, just crazy to look at it, just the amount of years that the Barnes County tournament has been in. 108, this is going to be the 100th, 106, this will be the 107th Barnes County boys basketball tournament here, Calvin. I know we've kind of talked about the history and the lineage, but what does it just mean to be part of a tournament like this? And you and I have talked about the yesteryears where people had their own school districts and co-ops, and now that's kind of gone away to where it's just the Enderlins or just the Maple Rivers, so to speak, of the world that used to have multiple school districts here, Calvin. But what does it mean to still have probably the longest annual running tournament here in the state, particularly on the boys side when it comes to boys basketball?
Yeah, for sure. You're talking 107 years. That means you don't want to be the person that kind of lets that tournament go. If there's enough teams that want to play, and the Valley City State, which they really want it. They want us to be there. They like getting people on campus, students and fans. And so, we'll keep it going as long as we can. And yeah, absolutely. You look at, I think I saw one from 1940 something, but just an Enderlin, Nome, Fingal, Sheld. Everybody has 3-4 schools that used to exist. And I think there was 24 teams at one point. I think you even had to do a play-in to get to Valley maybe, but and then maybe all were in Barnes County only. We probably weren't even in it. Now there's obviously Barnes County North and Valley on the boys side still in it, but yeah, it's interesting because somebody's grandma played in it or mom played in it or grandpa played in it from a school that doesn't exist anymore, and it's kind of cool to see. And Valley does a great job with the program of champs from yesteryear, free throw champs, and a lot of good history inside that program, and so it's nice to see that keeps going. And we'll keep it going as long as we can. And obviously financially, you have to somehow be in the black at the end. And so that's always the thing, you can't, if you lose money a bunch of years, somehow somebody's got to pay for that. So, it's obviously nice to get people there watching and keep it going.
Yeah, you mentioned just going back 50 years ago, 76, Fingal was the champs. To go back another decade from there, Wimbledon, was the champs. Kelvin, Uxbridge, 1917, the very first one, right? So always fun to kind of hear those particular names and see those particular towns from the free throw championship that started back in 1948 as well. Lloyd Lee was part of it. Some Wimbledon, some Eccleston, some Davies, Siva, if I'm saying that pronounced
so.
correct.
I think so.
There's some names that you don't get to hear, so it's almost like a geography lesson when you open up that booklet a little bit, Calvin.
Absolutely. And I used to have some content. I think to myself as like a North Dakota sports or mascot connoisseur, but some of those I don't even know. Like you think of, we used to have contests on the bus when you said, well, what was Tower City? They were the Clams. What was, every mascot that you have as you go, and some of the towns you just named, I don't even know that. So yeah, it's it's cool to see, and some of those people know exactly where that is, and that's kind of cool for them to know also.
You had last year Valley City, Barnes County North in the championship, and A versus B, a matchup just like we had in the girls here, Calvin. So just kind of take us through the makeup this year in terms of our fans. Very similar to see the Mayports who have came down now the last couple of years. Obviously, yourself and the Lemoore Litchfield Marians making their way to the Maple Rivers. So similar matchup when it comes to teams this season coming up in Valley City as well.
Yeah, it's nice to have some continuity. Back in the day, it used to be kind of the same 8 teams for X amount of years. Now on the boys' side, it has been. We gained Richland back. Richland was in the tournament for a few years. They left, and now they're back. So obviously, 2 Class A teams with Mayport and Valley City, both competitive, athletic, get after it. Obviously, then Lemoore, ourselves, Maple River, Wymer, Lidgewood. It's nice to have the girls and the boys kind of, so they know what kind of to expect. And so there's 4, 5, 6 of us that have both teams going. And then obviously, South Border's not coming on the boys' side, but Mayport is on the boys' side. Mayport is. So yeah, it's nice to have continuity. It means they liked it. They want to come back. It's nice to have the AB crossover as well. I think that just kind of adds to it. It's not you're playing the same team every game. So I mean, obviously, a lot of us are in the same district. It's nice to not play them another time or 3 times. So if you do mix in a team from out of district or a team from out of division, and at least get 1 or 2 against somebody you don't play, that's a nice thing.
As you go from here, Calvin, just from your perspective, what has allowed the Barnes County tournament to continue to move forward from the girls, which was down to 6? You kind of did the pool play into championship, 3rd place and 5th, now rounding it out to 8, seeing what the boys has traditionally been 8 teams. There was a year or two kind of a bonanza with COVID and just kind of how everything worked together here, Calvin. But what do you think is kind of the behind the scenes that has allowed this tournament to continue, so to speak, stand the test of time to this juncture?
I think Valley City State putting on and hosting a good show. Like they want us there. They get t-shirts for the champ. It's a nice, cozy environment, nice locker rooms, they awesome programs, hospitality room. Like they want us there and they make it nice. It's not like when you walk in the gym, it's not like, well, here they are again. We don't want them here. And that pretty much starts everything. If they're welcoming, have a great host relationship with everybody, I think that kind of goes down the line of now, we want to come there. We want to figure this out. We want to keep going, so Valley City State continuing to be great, helping out Steve Olson, the manager on site, like it just makes it very smooth and puts on a great atmosphere for the teams. And so I think that starts it, and then it kind of trickles down from there.
Final thing that I'll ask you, because there is a lot of tournaments this year at Valley City State University with the District 1 boys basketball tournament. You're going to see the Region 1A girls, Region 1B will be there as well coming up. So how valuable is it to play 3 games, barring Mother Nature, what they has in store, Calvin, but to have a chance to play 3 games on a venue that you will play at, coming to the district tournament, at least bare minimum, for some of these District 1 teams later on this season?
Invaluable. I think, when you look at the first division or 3 division year in Jamestown, I think one of the teams played 9 games there. It helps immensely. And obviously now selfishly, I might get an apartment in Valley because I'm the manager of all 5 of those you just mentioned. The 2 Barnes counties, I'm going to run the Region 1B, Region 1A, and then the District 1B. So I'll be there. Me and Steve Olson and Dennis McCullough will be best friends by the end of this year. So, but besides that, yes, people want to be there. It does help. And, back in the day when we'd be in Wapaton, everybody kind of go to a bonanza to try to get on that floor just before the region, or you try to get to the Civic Center or wherever it was. And it's not, you need to do it, but I know people do like it. It makes the coaches feel more comfortable, kids feel more comfortable. And Valley City wants those things there. And I'm, glad the state has given us those opportunities to kind of pick and choose and get there, and kind of go back and forth with District 2. So awesome. It's a good environment. Last year's districts and this year's districts, I think it's as good of an environment as you're going to find around. It's a perfect seating size. You're right on top of it. So I think it's a great venue, and Valley City likes having it. And so we'll continue to try to get it there.
Hey, Calvin, as always, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for the behind-the-scenes work. Looking forward to seeing you here in the new year and opening up another Barnes County boys basketball tournament.
Yep, thanks for doing it. Obviously, keep coming around. Don't leave us. We love having you around.
And again, Calvin Kraft with us here on YourLiveVent.com.
If you have concern or questions about the mental health of yourself or a loved one, Trail District Health Unit's Credible Mind platform offers convenient and confidential resources to help inform you about mental well-being. Credible Mind offers 21 different assessments to guide you in your mental health journey, from sleep quality and burnout to anxiety and depression. To get started today and learn about your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health, visit traildistricthealthunit.crediblemmind.com.
Welcome to the city of Hillsboro, a small town with big opportunity. Here, you don't just find a house, you find a quality of life. Safe neighborhoods, affordable living, and a community that treats your family like their own. Build your dream home with lots starting at an attractive price, and enjoy homeowner incentives and grant funds to help make it yours. Come live, work, and thrive in Hillsboro, where you don't just live, you belong.
This week's Dakota Heritage Bank Crowning Moments brings you highlights from your live event broadcasts, celebrating standout performances and achievements from our local athletes. These are the moments that inspire us all. Moments of determination, teamwork, and success. Dakota Heritage Bank, helping dreams come true. Sharing our heritage, sharing our future.
For the key. Looking down and inside, turning it over is Thompson. A steal the other way, Gilbertson. Right-hand layup is good, and a foul.
Czar's going to drive, and ripping this one away is Hushka. Hushka goes up the other side of the floor to Kenley. Look at the spin move, left-handed scoop for 2. Oh, how do you do?
Inside the arc. Taylor, top of the key, drops a great pass inside. Scoring is Caden Loyland. Looked at a three, pushes it to Hippen. Hippen doubled up. Hippen over the top of DeBano. Bucket good.
Length. They'll grab that one. Kinsel drives inside. Bucket in the foul.
And Carlson pokes the ball away with a steal. And a layup and a chance at a three-point play.
Hippen lost a handle on it. Turnover. Thompson, turnover number 6 in the ball game. Each team with 6 turnovers. Driving the lane, laying it in is Jack Gilbertson.
Huzar, top of the key, goes between the legs. Rainbow three, finds a pot of gold. Underneath the screen, but getting a block shot there is Thompson. Coney goes up the other side of the floor, and Thompson flushes it home.
The Mayport CG have are a three by Carpenter. Here's Olsen. And a reverse by Hurst. Cotton for Olsen inside, shot block. Comes right to Sawyer, three short. Rebound, Paige Cotton, yes. Perhaps they didn't call a foul, I don't see it on the scoreboard. Pass underthrown and taken away. Violet Richmond, yes, and a foul.
Throwing it back in, right to Jace Brasa, to Bryce Brasa, to Brock Fox, blocked by Tinjum in transition. Tinjum with the block in transition, comes back the other way, finds Catlin, layup up and good. No good, rebound ripped down by Brody Menge, looking to go. He's gonna race 1, 2, 3, weaves around all of them, right side, layup up and good.
Austin drives, Trough and loose, he scores! Right on cue, there's number 13.
Miziganis working on a double-double, his 6th rebound. Look at Miziganis, cross ones, cross tries, to the paint, high off the window, and count it!
16. The Mayport CG lead. And Carpenter with a three from the top. Kicks it off, three on the way, good. By Kaisa Carlson.
Sage leaves it off to Hurst. A little give and go back to Sage on the inside to Kaya. Hurst with a right wing three is up and in. The near side is Glant. Glant with a ball fake. Finds it. Nice side. Booth with a run-handed rim rocking jam. For the game, Samick with a floater on the other side. Up back jam for Knutson.
Had the post play make, but there is Haugen stepping in front. He's going to try to go coast to coast and does.
And over to Torres at the top of the key. 5:30 left to play. Deep three-pointer from the parking lot. Rattle it in. Teammate. Balky sees this one, and look out. Here goes Evanson. Evanson the other side. Stop, pop, college range three, and drop.
Evans fires, steps into another three.
Bitker to McCraven, takes the three, good.
Taken away by Ethan Jackson. Jackson driving, bucket good and one.
Evans fires, steps into another three. Tyler Evans.
Now Cotton for the lead. Got it! Keller. Ryder baseline three ball drops in. So Maple River has a chance to add to the lead here. Dow's all the way coast to coast. Nice move.
Now it's Stunis on the drive. Stunis drops, steps. Nice move by Madison Stunis.
Waldall, the bull, outside, three, good.
Screen from Peterson. Fall away jumper from Jace Fury. Off the mark. Carson Diley is good.
Final 15 seconds. And Mason Bartles with the pinfall victory, 1:48.
The one to throw it in. Into Menge. Hey, oh, nicely done for the two-handed flush.
Here's Hoff, top of the key, and that's batted away. Good play by Casper. She read that one. Gonna go coast to coast. Little fast break, lays it up and in.
Waste time. Right side drive. Duden goes in one-handed. Hook, how'd he hit that?
4-1 with 1:35 left in the third period. Winner via fall at heavyweight. Gavin Franzen with Johnson. Johnson front court, ball gets tipped, intercepted. Here goes Dobbs, and she's got a runway in front of her. Dobbs with the right-handed layup for two.
But he can't get the ball to fall, and it's Iverson. He has Baco.
There it is.
Alley-oop.
There's the restart to an ankle, gets a breakdown, and Hudson Goldaddy for the Thompson Tommies comes back, a 16-15 victory.
Olsen again, did not work. Norrie spinning inside the paint, the lay and the finish. Through the foul. What a play for Damian Norrie. Put it on the highlight reel.
Other side, Haug will see this at the free throw line. Comes into a crow hop and count it. Side of Feeney, it's a 5-point game. Chroma will handle this, and they go inside the paint. He gets fouled and count it.
2-1 Grafton Park River. Fargo Shanley with a chance right off the draw, and they score! And the goal is scored by Jack Rasmussen.
So the shot fake here leaves it Ryder. This for the lead from the right wing. 3 is good! Carly Ryder with the triple. Third made 3 for the Janks, and it's a big one as they lead it by 1. Other side, Haug will see this at the free throw line, comes into a crow hop and count it.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union insurance agent in Hillsboro.
Stay up to date all year long with your live event from our social platforms with X, Facebook, and YouTube. From the latest coaches show to watch game broadcasts back on demand from earlier in the season. Search your live event on YouTube and hit subscribe.
Outside the three-point arc. Pick and pop here with Spaeth into the left side corner. 3, good!
For the complete and most up-to-date schedule throughout the year, head to our website at yourliveevent.com. Well, joining us here is Chris Heise. You've probably seen him at some point in a local around your neighborhood here in the Red River Valley and beyond in terms of officiating from the prep scene, also to the collegiate scene as well. And Heise, the last couple of years here, kind of over the holidays, always like to kind of talk a little bit about with officials, how you got involved, why should people nowadays get involved in just kind of the career and the arc that you've had for yourself. So I guess the first question is, how did you get involved with officiating, Heise? And you're still obviously doing it to this day, doing high school and collegiate games as well.
I'd say, well, right out of high school, I got involved. I had Mr. Olson and Mr. Gruders. I call them still by misters, but they asked me one time to, hey, do you want to ref with them the intramural championship? And I was playing for Torrenson at the time at West Fargo. I was a sophomore, and I was thinking, nah. And they go, quick $30 at that time. And I'm thinking, all right. So I did it. And then those two were the ones that kind of brought me doing Class B. I'd run out to Tower City and I'd do the JV game with Gruders up till halftime. And then I'd work with Olson the second half. And then we'd talk about it. And then I'd ride home with them. And then I did Castleton. And that's how I got involved with District 2 so much, because the coaches started getting to know me. And then I just fell in love with the game. I love basketball. And in order to give back, back then when I was in college, the tax-free cash, it was like extra spending money. So it's kind of fun.
As you go from there, Heise, just what's one thing about officiating that people might not see, that, so to speak, the Wizard of Oz behind the cloth, right? Behind what you kind of see for most people when they come into a gym, to maybe what they don't see that is behind the scenes outside of what you actually do, on the court on any given night here, Heise.
Great point. There is a lot of, the more you get into college, the more I am in college hoops, we have quizzes, we have tests, we have Zooms. There is a lot of, we study the films. It's just not go out and ref like the good old days. There's a lot of behind the scenes. And prime example, it's almost like pilots before the game. Especially like prime example tomorrow night when I arrive at Morehead State, I'm reffing with two St. Cloud and a Minneapolis referees, two refs that I don't ref with. So it's like a pilot. The referee, the R that's assigned, he's in charge, the crew chief. And then there's a U1 and U2. So we get in the locker room after we get dressed, then we open it up, and it's just like a pilot before. A pilot just doesn't hop in the plane and start flying. We go through the checklist, like this is what we do. And then we talk about the game, like what the kind of matchup, who's the post player, who's the bull in the china cabinet. And we ref, but we do a lot of prep beforehand. Like I stress eye communication, and communication with the coaches, and don't fish in my pond. If I don't blow my whistle, there's a reason, and I trust you. I won't call in your pond. So there's a checklist that we go through, and then it pays, because if you don't go through it, then you kind of like, oh, you're not prepared. So
take us through the arc. Obviously, there's some people who maybe do it because their son, their grandparents, their niece or nephew, something to that nature were involved, or maybe now they have someone in their family that they still want to give back to the game, as you alluded to already here, Heise. But how can someone get involved? And then what's kind of the arc, so to speak, if they, in your shoes, enjoy the work and it's something that they want to get to a varsity level from a high school senior, possibly be a collegiate level official someday here?
Best is, if in the state of North Dakota, contact North Dakota High School Activities Association. They'll hook you up with the association in your area. And then Minnesota, contact the Minnesota High School League. Same situation. They'll hook you up. They're always looking for more refs or more local refs. Prime example, that's how much I've done this, is Jeff Hammery from Enderlin, North Dakota. I first got into the NCC. That's the back in the days with NDSU and Gene Roebuck, the old rivalry. Mitch Parker, Randy Wolden, Jeff Hammery, Tim Garrett, some great referees. And I wanted to be like them. So I went to camps, got into the NCC, and then all of a sudden the NCC kind of folded. NDSU went into the Division I. UND still stayed in the NCC for some years. And then NCC folded and kind of went into the Northern Sun. And I had an opportunity to jump at that Summit League, but man, for the travel, I hung in there for a couple of years, but for the travel and my age, but for the youth, young, oh, it's great, because I'm kind of proud. Jeff's younger son, Cale Hammery, he just got done working Mayville at UND Wednesday night, and that is awesome. He got in the league, and he was kind of like wondering when he's going to make that jump, and he did. And he attended our camps. Ben Franson and I and Mike Colness, we started this Great North basketball officiating camp. So we kind of gave back in the community. We ran this camp for 7 straight years, and we had refs from Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, traveled up here, and our average campers were around 70 to 80 campers. And then we had them into 3-person. We had 6 courts. And then we always had 2 college, a D1 official and a D2 official, observe at each court. And these campers thought it was awesome, because for the D1 camp, you would have to fly to Chicago or Florida, and you're paying, $3,000 to go to that camp, and our camp was 150. So they were getting good input, but that was a way of giving back. And to see Hammery jump up the ranks. Well, another good one around the area is Rob Kuhneman. He's doing D1. Mark Riggs. Another one in D2 men's is Ben Wolden. He's doing a lot. He's takes after his dad. He's doing a good job there. But no, it's fun to see the younger ones move up as well.
What's the one thing here, Heise, especially for an official that does go back and forth from the high school ranks to the college ranks? You have to kind of remind yourself, okay, here's what North Dakota does, or here's what Minnesota does. Here's what, the NSIC kind of wants to look at, or the rules. So just take us through it as an official. How much are you just trying to stay up on the game, week in and week out, when maybe you got a North Dakota high school game on a Tuesday night? Maybe you got a couple NSIC games, that weekend. Then the next Monday, Tuesday, you're in Minnesota doing a high school game. So just take us through how that kind of works.
Oh, absolutely. That's the fun part, that you always have that pregame. So we bring out our checklist, and then boom, you go to college. Boom, you go to Minnesota. Boom, you go to North Dakota, and you do that checklist, that pregame report. And because each state has different rules, sets, colleges have different sets. So that's why that pregame is so important. But that's some challenging. It's just like football, prime example. Friday night rules, Saturday rules, and Sunday rules. So it's the same situation as high school and college basketball too.
What are some things that have been put in place? I mean, the restricted arc obviously was not part of the high school game, now is part of the high school game. Minnesota, for example, didn't have a shot clock. Now they've had a shot clock. What are some things during your tenure here, Heise, that's maybe helped officials or try to clean the game up as best as possible, throughout the course of the handful of years here?
You know what? I'm such an antique that the clean the game up is going from 2-person to 3-person. I remember doing a state championship out in Bismarck. Dave Karlsrud was the signer for the state, and I got fortunate. I worked with a legend, Davy Johnson from Devil's Lake, and we had Mayville versus Beulah for the championship, and it was 34-31, low-scoring game, but 2-person, and you got done, you're wringing wet. And yeah, they say, okay, ref, 3-person, you shouldn't sweat. Oh, you do. But you notice on 2-person blindside picks, they might be holding a little bit more. It just cleaned up the game, switching from 2 to 3. And then, like you said, the RA, they a little bit cleaning it up underneath the hoop. The shot clock went from no shot clock to a shot clock. At first, it was some challenging. So we're always keeping an eye on the operator. Like, okay, did they start it? Did they stop? Where are we at? So we have more eyes, not only looking at the ball, but we're looking at the shot clock as well.
What's the one thing, Heise, that if someone wants to get into the business, what's one thing you would tell them, or some words of advice for someone who's maybe just getting into it for the first time? Maybe they're doing elementary, middle school games to start with, just seeing if they like it. What's something that you would like to tell someone who's just kind of getting their feet wet or wants to have the opportunity, to officiate?
I would talk to a varsity official, talk to a college referee, and they'll be happy to share their bio with you, and they'll be happy to tell you how to the process. But go up and talk to a varsity referee. Hey, how can I do this? Don't be afraid, just ask, and we're all willing to help.
Final thing that I got, Heise, is there a favorite memory from a college to a high school, just something that kind of stands out? You mentioned the 2-man crew at Bismarck, at the event center there doing a state championship, but what are some other memories that kind of just stand off the page, whether it's driving back from a tournament, driving back from a game with a couple of friends that, are officials with you? What just kind of comes to mind for you, Heise?
Oh, I tell you what, well, we go through the top 10 worst traveling days, coming home from Minot State in a bad blizzard, coming from Crookston. There was a bad university or Crookston College, got 5 miles south of town, whiteout. I sat in the side of the road and called the signer, nope, get to the hotel. Well, I couldn't see. Where else? Coming home from Wayne State, Nebraska. I called the fellow official, Ben Franson. He just got done with Brookings, South Dakota, and he had on interstate. And by that time, they didn't even have closed interstates. Once you're on, you're on. If you get off, you get off. And I was falling 30 miles an hour, following a semi all the way home. So struggling with winter, deer, but the fellowship of meeting new officials. And we're just like, I'm retired military, so it's the bond of the brothers. And I don't want to. There's women, and there's great women officials too, which is great. There is some solid women officials and guy officials. You just become friends, and they're family. We just look out for each other. So that's about it.
Hey, Heise, I want to just say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything you've done behind the scenes for high school sports and also collegiate sports here over the years. And happy holidays, and looking forward to seeing you at the court sometime again here this winter.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity.
That again, Chris Heise with us here on our YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show.
live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
Join us now, part of the Mustangs baseball program, is Hudson Dinger with us here on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, part of our senior spotlight this week. And Hudson, for you, I know there's always interest anytime you have a chance to play collegiately. We'll start with there. Just kind of what made, North Dakota State and that baseball program be a good fit for you and also close to home here next year moving to college.
I'd say, first of all, obviously the coaches, getting to know them. Obviously, most coaches I met were amazing, but I think they just blew me out of the water. And getting to know them, it makes me excited. I can't wait to play for them. And then obviously being in town, whenever my parents want to come for a game, it's just a 15, 20-minute drive away. They can pop in. I can talk to them whenever I need anything. Having my family close is huge. I'd say those are the two main factors.
And the one thing, too, with NDSU baseball, as you well know, following the sport, is you get to play a lot of games that are south of North Dakota, so to speak, in those months of February and March, and also some big-time programs like LSU, Texas, Tulane that they played at. So was that a little bit enticing, too, Hudson, knowing that once you're going to get on campus at NDSU, that sure, you're going to be off campus for a while, but traditionally they have gone and played some really good competition in the non-con?
Yeah, that also definitely made a huge difference, knowing that even though it is obviously a smaller league that we're in, that they're still going out and playing the best of the best with one of the hardest schedules you can get. And knowing that I can go out there and just compete and develop against tough players definitely made a difference for me.
For you, Hudson, just take us through what the recruiting process was. Everybody has their own different, unique version and unique style a little bit in terms of their journey to go to the collegiate ranks. So what was the recruiting process for you like?
Okay. I'd been going to a lot of camps and showcases freshman, sophomore, junior year. And then around my junior year, I started talking to a few coaches, NDSU obviously being one of them. And then they had me down for a visit. They made a nice offer. And then 2 days later, I committed because I knew I wouldn't find anywhere better for me.
As you go through the journey here, Hudson, if you could go back to your 14-year-old self or talk to someone who's, kind of getting that first opportunity at a varsity level at any particular sport, what would be some words of advice for someone that's kind of in your shoes, so to speak, moving on and playing at that next level? What would be some words of advice for someone that's kind of coming up through the process?
I would say enjoy every moment. It definitely goes fast, and it's already crazy for me to think about that I just have one last year with my friends to play baseball before, I go away and I'm playing college with a whole new group of guys. And so I would say, yeah, just enjoy every moment. And times will suck, but it's still fun. So yeah.
Able to win a championship last year at the high school ranks with West Fargo. Sheyenne will start there with the Mustangs here. Hudson for the last 5 years as well, able to win a state title. Just what's in the water, so to speak, at that baseball program that just allows athletes to come on down and find ways to get on the ball field and, find ways to get some wins. What's kind of in the secret waters, so to speak, there, Hudson?
I'm not going to lie. I don't really know what it is. I just know with our teams that we've come together really well towards the end of the season. Bonding, I think we obviously struggled a lot last season, and then being able to put it together all at the end, I think really just came from our connection and playing together. I can't really speak on the three-peat that happened before us, obviously, but hoping it can happen again this year.
The one thing for this team, Hudson, coming in, just take us through under Coach Belke and the coaching staff. What are some things that you've kind of learned from him that you take with you, obviously on the ball diamond, but maybe your, normal walk-to-walk, day-to-day style of life?
Yeah, Belke's obviously been a huge help for me. Pitching, especially. I know he pitched in college, and so he's been helping me call pitches, figuring out sequencing, how to make them move better and everything. And so he's been a huge reason for my development as a pitcher. And then also just being able to be a better person, because I think he's extremely nice. He gives grace to a lot of players, and I think he's an amazing role model and coach.
What's the one thing you're most looking forward to once you step on that field here? Whenever it is, Mother Nature, we'll figure that one out once we get to March here, Hudson. But what are you most looking forward to stepping on that field for your senior year?
Getting to pitch, and then obviously playoffs and getting high pressure situations, competing out there, I think is the most fun by far. So yeah, just pitching in big situations.
For the baseball players up here, obviously there's the likes of the ball yards and different ways to train in the off season, but also a Legion, a very big part of the game up in North Dakota, Minnesota baseball as well, Hudson. So how do you carry over that, school sport from high school into Legion? Just kind of what's that like as a player once you kind of wrap up your school season, getting ready for summer baseball here as an athlete for a couple months in June, July, and potentially August, depending on how far you can go?
I mean, the transition's pretty easy. Obviously, I'm playing with, I'd say, a third of the team's players from my school, and everyone else is people I've been friends with since I've been young and played with on teams before. And it starts up right away. I think we got a day off after we won the state championship before we were back in practicing every day and going on tournaments. So it's a pretty seamless transition, and it's always fun.
What's the one thing you enjoy about Legion baseball that's just a little bit from school ball? Obviously, as you mentioned, a couple of different just high schools come together, form one particular team with the West Fargo Patriots there. That's probably the obvious one, Hudson. But what's one thing that you just enjoy most about summer baseball?
I'd have to say traveling. I think most people would say weather, but high heat kind of I don't mesh well with the best. But I think this year we went down to I can't remember, Arkansas, Lincoln, and we traveled obviously a lot. And I think that's my favorite part in getting to do Minneapolis and those huge trips, staying in hotels with your teammates and just having fun, waking up and playing baseball without having to worry about school or anything else.
When it comes to the sport of baseball, whether it's being as a fan, maybe growing up, obviously playing, just what's one or two memories that kind of jump off the page for you for your favorite baseball memory of all time here, Hudson?
Obviously, I think the easiest one would be winning state last year, but I also know 10U when we went to the, I think, Babe Ruth World Series or Cal Ripken Jr. That was one of my huge moments. We went to Branson, that's like obviously a bunch of mini ballparks, and I think that was the most fun I've ever had at a tournament. So I'd say those three are the biggest.
As you go through here, when it comes to superstitions, is there anything you have to do before a game when it comes to baseball? Obviously, baseball, there is some superstitions and unspoken words, so to speak, or rules, but anything that you have to do in particular, or is it let's just, take the mound or take the field and just get ready to play?
I'd say the only real superstitions I have is I need to have a coffee before every outing, not every game, just outings. And then I like to make sure I go through my full warm-up routine the exact same every time. I mean, that's really it. I'm not too superstitious. I like to just go out there, compete and play, and what happens is what happens. So
When did the Cup of Joe start? How did that kind of start up a little bit?
I used to always be energy drinks before games, and then my parents started getting mad at me for energy drinks because they thought they were a little dangerous. And so I just started having coffees because they're easier. You can grab them from the store or, Starbucks, Caribou, really anywhere. And, sometimes they're good. Sometimes I end up with the black coffee and it's kind of not the best. But yeah, I'd just say trying to get rid of energy drinks is why.
And then you're going to NDSU. Just take us through what you're planning on majoring there and just kind of what you look forward to studying once you get on campus coming up next fall.
I'll be going into an accounting and financing degree. And so obviously, I think that can help in any part of the business world, those two things. And I'm just excited. Well, not excited for school, definitely excited for the baseball part and to just get on campus. But
And you have the opportunities from baseball. Last question that I'll ask you, Hudson. Obviously, being on the mound, having the opportunity to get in the plate, what's one that you kind of enjoy, whether it's pitching, being in the field, being at the plate, what's one that you really enjoy above the others if you had an opportunity just for one game to play one position or one spot?
pitching by far is my favorite thing to do. Just knowing that you have the control every single pitch to put it wherever you want. I mean, I like hitting and stuff, but I just don't like having to wait for it to come to you as much. I like being able to be the one giving it, if that makes sense.
For sure, 100%. Hudson, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck coming up here for the Mustangs and alongside once you get ready to go to NDSU as well next fall.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Hudson Dinger with us from West Fargo Cheyenne. We'll continue with more on the Coaches Show after this.
For the Your Live Event Coaches Show, we are now welcoming two seniors from Pine River-Backus High School, Mimi Bueckers and Sawyer Tulenchik, off to a tremendous start in the girls' basketball season. I've gotten to know you gals fairly well over the last few years. I'm thrilled to do this highlight for you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
The basketball season and coming in, you're both very experienced players, and part of the key of me choosing you for the spotlight was you not only both have eclipsed the 1,000-point milestone, you did it on the same night. So
yes.
Before we talk about that night, coming into the season, did you know in today's world of stats, did you know exactly how many points you needed coming into the year?
No, we didn't know really until like a few games before that we were going to get it. Yeah.
Well, I'd say that's a good answer. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You're not watching your own numbers. So did you have an idea? It happened against Black Duck. I think it was the fourth game of the year, something like that.
Yes.
So did you both have an inkling that it was going to happen that night?
So the night, like the game before, Tucker did tell us how many points you're away. So then that night we were kind of sure that we would get it.
Yeah.
But before that, we had no idea.
And it was roughly around the same amount, which made it even better that it was going to be around the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've talked to enough student athletes throughout my career that sometimes it puts a little added pressure on. So did you go into the game with kind of a plan of trying to get through it as quickly as possible?
Kind of. I don't know. I didn't really know like exactly. Like I figured like I think we both knew we were gonna get it. So I feel like just like playing the game normally. And then when it happened was kind of also how we went into it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you clearly couldn't get the same time. So who got it first?
I got it first.
Were you closer to 1,000?
We had one more point for that game. And then you had 11,
something like that, yeah. But we were like the game before, I think we were like 8-point difference or something like that. So we were like neck and neck, basically.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of, at least you kind of knew like, hey, this could happen. So I mean,
Yeah.
once it did, and like you guys had the idea that hey, this could happen on the same night. I mean, how special is that for you? You two have been playing ball together for how many years, and you got to do this on the same night, which is so rare.
Yeah, we've been playing since third grade together.
Yeah.
So it was special to do it on the same night.
Yeah.
All right, so I like to ask this because I've seen it. And so, how did you score your 1,000th point, Mimi?
I scored mine on like a little post move hook shot type of thing.
All right, how about you, Sawyer?
Mine was like a pull up sideline. It was like from Ariana kicked it out to me,
All right.
and then yeah.
I've seen it where it's a free throw. It's not as exciting.
Yeah, we were hoping it wasn't on a
not be fun.
Now, you're both 4-year basketball players for PRB, and again, knowing you and in small schools, you play multiple sports. Let's talk about this season overall. You're off to a tremendous start, and I think that's not really much of a surprise with the experience you have. Being seniors, what has it been like for this, getting off to a really strong start this year? Sawyer, let's start with you.
It's been fun. I feel like as a team, we've been working together really well. And if we can keep doing that as a team wise, communicating and like trusting each other, I think we can have a really good end of our season as well.
How about you, Mimi? Along with that, did you guys talk about, again, being the experience a large factor of this year's team? How much fun has it been, and did you set aside certain goals for this year?
Yeah, definitely one of our goals is to make it to the state tournament. I feel like this is our perfect year to go. We built a lot up over the summer, put a lot of work in, and our chemistry has grown like so much. So I'm really excited for the rest of our season.
For reaching a milestone, was there a little bit of relief that has passed you so that you can concentrate more on these goals for the year?
Definitely. That was one of my personal goals to get like quickly this year, so I didn't have to worry about it later on in the season.
Sawyer, when it comes to what you guys are doing well on the court, what are some of the things that you feel the team has really done well through the first several games?
Honestly, our communication has been pretty good. I mean, there's times we obviously slip up, but that's going to happen. We're a team full of high school girls, and it's going to happen. But other than that, and like boxing out, I think has been one of our strong suits. But other than that, I feel like in general, just working as a team has been a big thing for us.
One thing about the senior spotlight, and honestly, this is the first one I have done for the YourLiveEvent.com coaches show, is kind of looking at the realm of outside of just sports, because I know that you girls play multiple sports. when you're in a small school setting like Pine River-Backus, what else do you like to get involved with? What else do you like to do in terms of being a part of the school community?
Well, I guess I'm in other sports, but do you mean like, what are you like asking? Like what we do outside?
Like clubs, extracurriculars, other things like that.
I'm in NHS, and I have a lot of like Kaylee and Ariana and girls like that are also in the club with me. So it's another part where we're going to be with them, and we're all very close, I guess. I'm also in student council. I like to volunteer. I don't know, a little bit of everything.
Mimi?
I technically don't go to Pine River, but I still help with like I help coach the little boys basketball team this year, which is technically sports, but that's just another thing I do to help volunteer around the school. And then like concessions and everything like that, I like to volunteer and help out.
So for going forward now with how good you have looked, and this is usually a coach question, but you two are experienced enough. I want to, what are the biggest things you're working on to improve for the basketball season as it continues?
That's a hard question. There's definitely many things we can improve in, like, especially all aspects. But I think, I don't know, our main one would probably be like when we get flustered, we all need to just like calm down instead of throw the ball away or like, I don't know, make mistakes. I feel like that's one of our biggest things right now. Like, not like state anyone in like specific, but like all of us when we get flustered, it just kind of goes to a crap.
Yeah,
like it's bad. But if we can like handle our composure, I feel like that can help us a lot.
Yeah.
Mimi, one more for you. Talking about leadership, because I know from last year and even this year is you do have you gals and others as seniors, but you also have some really key pieces to this team that are underclassmen. What are some of the biggest things that you gals are doing as leaders to teach them and make sure that they understand too that you feel that this could be a very special season?
Yeah, definitely supporting them is the biggest thing. Making sure that they feel comfortable on our team, and then obviously just giving them advice and helping them out, and making sure they know that what their role is, and yeah, really just being a good teammate, being a good leader, being supportive. That's really it.
Well, again, part of the big part of having and spotlighting you two is the 1,000-point milestone, and again, not only that, but getting it the same night. Is there anyone else on the team close to it? Did anybody else got a shot at it, do you think?
Not this. I don't think this year, but I think next year. I think Ella will definitely be up there if she does. Yeah.
All right. Well, feed her the ball a few extra times, and no. Girls, it's so fun, watching you in your senior year and covering the Tigers. Congratulations on the terrific milestone and the start to the year. Looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Thank you.
Mimi Bueckers and Sawyer Tulenchik on our senior spotlight on the Your Live Event Coaches Show.
A happy new year again goes out to you and yours. Thank you so much for tuning in to our broadcast throughout the course of the 2025 season, and join us for 2026 as well here on YourLiveEvent.com. Our next coaches show will be on Wednesday, January the 7th, as brought to you in part by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. Enjoy the rest of your night and join us again in 2026 for another edition of the YourLiveEvent.com coaches show.